Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you love cars, history, and a little bit of what if, you're in for a ride today. What if Ford did the unthinkable and somehow revived the Model T for 2026? Not as a museum piece, but as a fully modern electric car that nods to its own past while sprinting toward the future. That's the premise of today's exploration. A speculative look at a vehicle that would be equal parts memory, design study, and practical daily driver. If you're new here, consider subscribing so you don't miss future deep dives into tech, design, and the culture of cars. The Model T isn't just a badge. It's a symbol, one that Ford built its entire legacy on: affordable mobility, simple engineering, and a relentless push toward the common road. Today, we're not pretending to predict Ford's actual product plan. We're doing something a little different. We're imagining how a 2026 Model T could exist if Ford decided to reinterpret the legend for a contemporary audience. If you're curious about what a revival might look like, engineered for today's city streets, highways, and charging networks, this is the video for you. We start with the spirit. The original Model T democratized driving by making it simpler, more robust, and easier to service than anything else available. Ford's engineers showed that a car could be practical, rugged, and affordable without asking drivers to compromise crucially on reliability. A 2026 revival would need to honor that lesson while embracing the realities of now: electrification, smart tech, stringent safety standards, and a global supply chain that moves at the speed of software. The challenge isn't to replicate a silhouette, it's to translate a philosophy into a compact electric package that can be built efficiently, sold globally, and serviced with a smile. Let's talk design language. If Ford kept the Model T's lineage alive in 2026, it would probably shoot for a look that's easily recognizable as Model T, yet unmistakably modern beneath the gloss. You might see a tall but compact body with a high beltline, a gravity-defying low drag coefficient for an iconic shape, and tall, narrow glasshouse windows that evoke early 20th century motifs. The grille would swing between homage and function, a grille that whispers of the Model T's simple, almost industrial face, but with active aero shutter technology, full LED illumination, and a signature light bar that becomes a visual nod to the Model T's famous stance. The wheel wells would be clean, the fenders slightly pronounced to house modern tires with a comfortable ride. The color palette could lean toward period-evoking hues: deep burgundies, classic greens, dignified blues, paired with modern two-tone palettes and subtle chrome accents. The door handles might discreetly blend into the body, then pop out with a light touch, while a wraparound rear window image would give the car a contemporary dynamism without erasing its heritage. The aim would be to create something instantly recognizable as a Ford with a Model T soul, something you could see in a museum frame and still feel at home in a modern parking lot. Inside, the cabin would borrow the minimalist elegant blueprint many modern compact EVs have perfected, but with carefully chosen touches that nod to the original's ethos. Think a simple, horizontal instrument panel with a large digital driver display, a few tactile metal toggles for climate and audio, and a steering wheel that's generously sized and comfortable. The materials would emphasize sustainability without sacrificing tactile joy: recycled aluminum trim, high-quality plastics that are soft touch where you expect it, and seats that balance firm support with long-haul comfort. The interior dimensions would aim for practicality: over flamboyance, ample headroom, a surprisingly roomy rear seat for a compact, and a trunk that's intelligently laid out with modular cargo solutions. Performance-wise, we're imagining an electric platform designed for daily life, not a track day hero. Picture a front axle motor that makes the most of a compact footprint, paired with a rear axle motor for optional all-wheel drive. A battery pack around 60 to 75 kilowatt-hours would deliver a realistic 250 to 320 miles of range depending on packaging, wheels, and driving style. Charging: a 350 to 800-volt architecture would allow fast charging that gets substantial top-ups quickly, minimizing downtime on longer trips. Range anxiety would be eased by smart route planning that considers charging stops, weather, and driving style, with OTA updates ensuring efficiency gains as the software learns from real-world driving. The car would be designed for the urban creator, easy to maneuver in tight city streets, comfortable on longer commutes, and capable on a weekend road trip. Think nimble steering with a tight turn radius, a rider-friendly suspension tuned for city roads yet capable of absorbing highway irregularities, and regenerative braking that feels natural rather than aggressive. The intent is to deliver an EV that's easy to live with, even for drivers who are new to electric vehicles. Now, a Model T revival would need to tell a story about engineering and practicality. The platform would be a modern skateboard-style battery pack mounted low and centered, with a chassis designed for safety, stiffness, and ease of manufacturing. A simple, secure battery packaging approach would be critical. Modules that can be swapped or replaced in a service environment, with robust thermal management to keep performance consistent in hot summers or cold winters. Safety systems would be comprehensive, including advanced driver assistance features, collision warning, automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control, and a robust airbag system tuned for a compact vehicle's geometry. In the cockpit, the human-machine interface would aim for clarity and ease. A large, bright digital cluster would keep essential information within the driver's field of view, while a central touchscreen would manage navigation, media, climate, and vehicle settings. Ford would likely invest in a user experience that's simple to understand in seconds, with physical controls for common tasks and a conversational assistant for more complex interactions. Wireless smartphone integration would be a given, plus a secure, over-the-air system for incremental improvements over the car's life. Voiceover. The chassis would be tuned for everyday comfort rather than aggressive performance. A passenger-friendly ride height, supportive seats, and well-chosen sound insulation would make the 2026 Model T a quiet companion on longer journeys. The driving assist stack would be carefully designed to help new EV users learn the ropes, predictable acceleration, smooth braking, and clear, non-distracting alerts. A feature you could imagine would be a heritage mode that softly elevates the cabin's ambience, perhaps a warm color palette, a tasteful horn chime reminiscent of early automotive heritage, and a digital display that presents a tasteful, educational storyboard about the Model T lineage as you drive. Now, the powertrain would be tuned for efficiency and reliability. A modular propulsion system with a single motor for front-wheel drive is plausible, with an optional dual-motor setup for all-wheel traction. Performance might be modest by sports car standards, but it would be accessible and reassuring. 0 to 60 in the mid to high 6 seconds range, steady mid-range torque for easy acceleration in city traffic. And a pedal feel calibrated for smooth, confident driving. The battery chemistry would emphasize longevity and safety, balancing energy density with thermal stability and robust protection against puncture and thermal runaway. In short, Ford's 2026 Model T would be an appliance of reliability that makes every trip a little easier and a little more enjoyable. Host. The interior is where nostalgia meets practicality. The Model T living room in a small car, quiet, well-lit, and designed to feel a little bit timeless. We'd see materials that nod to the original's wood and brass accents but executed with modern sustainability standards. There might be subtle woodgrain inlays or a wood-inspired trim that gives a craft feel without heavy maintenance. Leather choices would be responsibly sourced, or perhaps premium fabric alternatives to appeal to a broader audience. The seats would be comfortable for hours of cruising, with heating in the winter and cooling in the heat of summer. It's a tiny car with a big heart, an everyday friend that you'd be proud to show off at a coffee shop or in a neighborhood parade. From a technology perspective, the 2026 Model T would likely rely on a cloud-connected ecosystem. OTA software updates would refine efficiency, adjust drivetrain calibrations for better range, and introduce new features over time. The instrument cluster could present a heritage timeline graphic that updates as the vehicle's software learns more about your daily routes and habits, a quiet way of reminding the driver that this car carries a story while still being a forward-looking tool for modern life. Connectivity would extend to smart home ecosystems, enabling preconditioning of the cabin from your phone or voice assistant before you even leave the house, and perhaps even integration with electric vehicle charging networks to secure a preferred charging slot or route. Voiceover. On the topic of pricing, a hypothetical 2026 Model T would need to hit a sweet spot that makes it a mass-market option without feeling like a stripped-down build. We're talking a price range somewhere in the mid-30s to mid-$40,000, depending on trim, options, and regional incentives. A practical, well-equipped base version could be pitched as an accessible entry into EV ownership, with higher-end trims offering more luxury, better range, and more sophisticated tech. The math would factor in manufacturing efficiencies, battery costs, and scale, just as the original Model T did by simplifying production and democratizing access to mobility. Ford would want this car to be a gateway model, an entry point into a brand new era that still invites customers to explore its historical roots. The future reach would extend beyond the car itself. A revival would likely pair with an immersive marketing narrative, from the dawn of the automotive era to the dawn of a new electric age. It would highlight the continuity of Ford's mission, providing practical, reliable transportation for everyday people, now powered by electricity with a modern, connected experience. It would be sold not just as a car but as a story you can participate in, the chance to own a piece of the century-spanning journey that Ford has built. Now, a quick note about the real world. There is no official announcement of a 2026 Ford Model T from Ford Motor Company as of this moment. The purpose of this video is to explore a speculative concept, an imaginative exercise in how a revived Model T could be designed, engineered, and marketed if Ford chose to pursue such a path. Think of it as an odyssey through possibility rather than a forecast of concrete plans. If this kind of speculative design thinking excites you, tell me in the comments what you'd want to see in a 2026 Model T. What design cues should stay the same, and which modern features would you insist on? Do you want more retro-futuristic styling or a cleaner, more minimal interpretation? Would you prioritize range, cost, or technology? Your thoughts shape the future of conversations like this, even if the car itself isn't announced for production tomorrow. Let's talk about the driving experience. Imagine pulling into a city center, where the car's compact footprint and tight turning radius let you squeeze into a parallel parking space with ease. You press the brake pedal, the car holds, and you pull away with confident, quiet electric torque. The driver's seat is comfortable, the cabin is serene, and the display presents an unobtrusive set of driving data while the surrounding world remains the focus. You're reminded of the Model T's ethos: get in, go where you want, and do it with a kind of low-stakes confidence. The car would be easy to live with predictable character rather than flashy bravado. On the highway, the 2026 Model T would settle into a steady, composed rhythm. The suspension would manage road imperfections with a quiet, controlled feel, the body would stay calm through gentle cornering, and the steering would offer a reassuring sense of connection without being heavy-handed. The acceleration would be smooth and sufficient for most driving scenarios, with the battery management system smartly balancing power and energy efficiency to maximize range on longer trips. The overall impression would be one of restraint and reliability, a car that doesn't need to shout to deserve a seat in the modern marketplace. In terms of reliability and serviceability, a modern revival would take cues from Ford's history of practical engineering. Quick access service points, modular components, and a supply chain designed to minimize downtime would be prioritized. A customer experience built around straightforward maintenance and robust warranties would reflect the car's intention as a long-term family vehicle rather than a flash-in-the-pan novelty. The dealer network would likely emphasize education, teaching customers how to maximize range, how to use the highway charging network, and how to keep the car running smoothly across seasons and years. Let me pose a question that often dominates conversations around heritage-inspired EVs. Can you create a modern car that respects its roots while delivering genuinely useful daily capabilities? If you're watching this video and you're a Ford loyalist or a history buff, what aspects of the Model T do you want preserved in a 21st century revival? Is it the practical, no-nonsense engineering, the accessible pricing, the broad societal impact, or the sense of wonder that a car could symbolize a new era of mobility for millions? As you weigh those questions, consider the broader automotive landscape in 2026. Electric powertrains are now a baseline expectation, not an experimental niche. Software-defined behavior has become a crucial part of a vehicle's personality. The competitive field includes everyone from compact EV hatchbacks to practical crossovers that offer generous interior space and long-range capability. A 2026 Model T, if it existed, would need to carve out a unique proposition, one that leverages heritage to set itself apart, rather than simply mimic an old silhouette in a modern package. To wrap this up, I'll leave you with a closing thought. The single most powerful thing a revival could achieve is storytelling. If Ford could craft a narrative that links the Model T's trailblazing spirit with the practical benefits of today's technology, it could create something more enduring than a car, an emblem of continuity across a century of change. A car that invites conversation, teaches new drivers, and still carries the stamp of a brand that changed how the world moves. If you enjoyed this speculative journey, hit like and share it with a friend who loves cars, history, and bright what-ifs. Subscribe for more deep dives into design, technology, and the future of mobility. And ring that bell so you don't miss our next exploration into an imagined automotive future or a real-world look at the latest innovations from manufacturers around the world. I want to hear from you. What would you want to see in a 2026 Model T? Which details matter most? The silhouette, the tech, the comfort, or something else entirely? Thank you for watching. This has been a creative look at how Ford might reimagine the Model T for 2026, anchored in history and propelled by present-day technology. Until next time, drive safe, stay curious, and keep imagining what lies ahead. Host. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. If you'd like a more technical breakdown, weights, stiffness, battery chemistry, or software architecture, tell me what you want to know, and I'll dive into those details in a future video. Thanks for joining me in this road trip through possibility. See you next time.